Picture this. It's the late 10th century and the world is in chaos. Empires are crumbling, religions are clashing, and out of the frozen north comes one man, Olav Tryggvason. A Viking warrior, a king, a conqueror, and oh yeah, a total wildcard. His life is a saga of vengeance, betrayal, and let's face it, absolute insanity. Buckle up, because this is the story of Olav Tryggvason, the Viking king who shook the world. Our story begins in 963, in a world where being born into a royal family wasn't exactly a guarantee of safety. Olav's dad, Tryggve Olavsson, was a Norwegian king until he wasn't. He was murdered in cold blood by Harald Greycloak. Little Olav, barely a toddler, his mom Astrid had to grab the kid and run for her life. Think Jason Bourne, but with longships instead of motorcycles. They ended up in Gardarike, what we now call Russia, where Olav grew up in the court of Vladimir the Great. But Olav wasn't just sitting around playing chess with Russian princes. Oh no. By the time he hit his teenage years, he was leading raiding parties in the Baltic. Let's just say he had a hands-on education in Viking diplomacy, which mostly involved axes. But here's where things get spicy. By his 20s, Olav was a full-blown Viking rock star. England raided, Ireland raided, even Normandy got a taste of Olav's wrath. Legend has it that during one raid, Olav captured a noblewoman and she cursed him so viciously that he supposedly found God. Now, did Olav convert to Christianity right then and there? Nah, he probably just thought, cool story, lady, and went back to pillaging. But the seed was planted. Fast forward to 995. Olav hears that Norway is in chaos. Håkon Jarl, the guy running the show, is unpopular, corrupt, and basically one bad day away from a coup. Olav sails in like, step aside, peasants. And guess what? The people love him. He's crowned king faster than you can say, long live the king. And now begins the most controversial chapter of his life. Olav wasn't just a king. He was a man on a mission. His goal? To Christianize Norway, whether people liked it or not. And spoiler alert, they did not. Olav went full Viking on the pagan temples. If you refused to convert, he might burn your farm, chop off your head, or in one particularly gruesome story, tie you to a rock at low tide and, well, let's just say the tide always comes back. Despite his aggressive methods, Olav did leave a legacy. He founded the city of Trondheim and built some of Norway's first churches, and he wasn't all fire and brimstone. According to one story, Olav once disguised himself as a fisherman to sneak into a pagan chieftain's hall. When the chieftain mocked Christianity, Olav threw off his disguise, gave an epic speech and convinced the guy to convert. Or maybe the guy just didn't want to get tied to a rock. Who knows? Now let's talk about the grand finale, the Battle of Svolder. It's the year 1000, and Olav is cruising home from a successful raid when, surprise, a coalition of enemies is waiting for him. Sweden, Denmark, and a rival Norwegian faction have teamed up to take him down. It's like the Avengers, but they all hate Olav. The battle is brutal. Olav fights like a madman, but he's outnumbered. His flagship, the Long Serpent, becomes a floating fortress. Legend says he stood on the prow, hurling spears and screaming curses at his enemies. When defeat became inevitable, did Olav surrender? Of course not. This is Olav Tryggvason we're talking about. According to the saga, he leapt into the sea and disappeared. No body was ever found. Some say he drowned. Others say he escaped, destined to return when Norway needed him most. Did Olav die that day, or did he survive hiding in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to reclaim his throne? We'll never know. But one thing's for sure, Olav Tryggvason wasn't just a king. He was a legend, a larger-than-life figure who changed the course of history and left behind a legacy of both terror and triumph. Thanks for joining me on this wild ride through Viking history. If you loved this story, and I mean, how could you not, hit that like button, subscribe, and let me know in the comments which Viking legend you want me to cover next. Until next time, keep your swords sharp and your longships ready.